of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome, well, probably nobody, to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns. I think it's later than midnight today. So we'll see if anybody comes over. Even though I'm starting an hour late, I'm being corked. So that's how messed up it is. So let's see what happens. All right, so I'm jumping on the computer here, and I didn't even do anything really. So we're gonna see if anybody shows up. There's Ozzy out there. Good evening. We have, I think it's 2 days off of being full, right? It doesn't really seem full out there. I think yesterday was 1 day off, but it's been kind of neat going out there at night and seeing the full moon. It comes up really early out here. So like if I went out there right now, the moon would be pretty much, it's only 10 o'clock, so it might still be coming up, but it'll be right in the middle of the sky by midnight. And then gone by 2 or 3. So I've been working on some stuff, and I'm just, I just turned the computer on here, realized I'm about an hour late. And I think I'm an hour late, unless the time zones have changed. When do the time zones actually change? What's that called? Daylight savings or whatever? I should probably learn when that is already. I won't though. How about say spring and fall, but then not tell us when? Moon in the desert is awesome. Yeah, it is. Started on April. It's not April. What are the dang dates? Why is it so hidden in here? So procedure. They're not going to tell me. So I don't know when you all switch time, but I don't think it's really that time yet. So we type in daylight savings Arizona, see what happens. March 8th, March the start of daylight savings. March 8th. What's the other end of March? November. So I guess we got a little while. All right, so yeah, I think I'm an hour late and nobody's listening anyway. If this thing's right, everybody jumped out of here. So see if everybody's around or not. It says that I'm the only one listening to my own show again. Anyway, I figured I'd go live. Let's say I just turned everything on here, so I'm looking at all the stuff that I had on my computer when I decided to shut it down. And lately I've just been working until I fall asleep, so trying to figure out where I was with all of this. Let's see. Surprisingly, I'm going to refresh. I don't get that much email. Got something from Patriot out there. Okay, yeah, I'll look at that later on in the middle of the night. And yeah, I didn't even get an email, so I don't even know how long I've been sleeping. I think I've been sleeping for a while. But I've been working on this project. So, like I say, I've pretty much got the screen full of stuff. And I really just fell asleep in the middle of all this. So I got to try to get my bearings, figure out where I was on all this. Let's see. So I don't need the daylight saving stuff anymore. Yeah, I was really working some things in that kind of went across the pages. That was kind of interesting. What was I working on? I was working on gun shows from what do you call them? The promoter's angle. And I didn't know where to put the promoters. If I should put them under Minuteman University or the calendar, because both kind of seemed appropriate. Anyway, so I've been working on that, trying to get stuff done for the, even though it's the 50 states of 2A, the annual events, the stuff that you would think of as a calendar, still applies. So even though it's not a calendar, it's a book more about geographical. If an event happens in a state, I still want to include it. So still doing a lot of work on calendar stuff for this one, even though it's not necessarily a calendar book, but of course the good side of that is it's all the same data. So it's applying, layout will be different, but the application of the data still be useful. So it's not wasted work or additional work. It's just all more work for the same project. Anyway, so yeah, I've been kind of going through, and the main thing is this new iteration, I guess, with the book is allowing me to go through on the websites and consolidate or consistentialize. What's the word for that? Consistency, create consistency. I guess you got to use two words. Consistentialize. I don't know if that's a word. But I've been able to add consistency to the posts where before they just happened probably, potentially years apart or completely different projects, added information to the various websites from different times and reasons and everything else. So this time I'm using it as an opportunity to standardize the posts so that we get things like when they were created at the top and how big they are at the top, and then where they are at the top, and then the other information, and that's all more standardized. So now every time you look at something on the various websites, you get a little bit more consistency. It's always good usually. But anyway, that'll also facilitate pulling that data out for all these different projects that are in mind. So like I said, we're working on the 50 states still. Basically, what's the word? Not really. I guess I am procrastinating because I've got my money, what do you call it, my bills back. Is it the bills? I guess it's my books back from the accountant to fix so that I can do my taxes, and I don't want to do that, so I've been doing this stuff instead. But as soon as I find a good spot to stop, I'll turn off 2A projects again and go back to stupid taxes. But we'll find out when that is. I'm not interested in doing that very much. Let's see. So I ended up going to sleep yesterday after accomplishing quite a bit on the 2A patch batch. And unfortunately, I don't think I can tell you nothing because even though I went to sleep for a while and woke up, Skip has confirmed she's to go. It looks awesome, thanks. Clover has, but we're kind of keeping that one on the secret until you get it in the mail. The 13th one just went from art to, it'll be rubber. It's art right now. Tony's is the only other one still art only. Charlie's, let's see, let's just go down the emails. You're not screen sharing right now. Clover's done being made. It's in production. Guns and Gadgets done in production. Every Second Matters done in production. GunTube.org done in production. Skip, I just got hers back, so it's about to go. I have to tell the factory, but it's about to go into production. Charlie had one glitch, so his is still being worked on. The DC project glitch, still working on that one. Liberty Doll glitch, still working on that. AZCD or CCDL is done, waiting for their approval of the rubber, and then everybody can look at it. What else is there? Charlie's we're working on. I think that's everybody. Am I missing any? Oh, 2A4E. Aunt Tony's is art, and I need Tony to give me a thumbs up so they can go to rubber. So that's the one breaking up the rear. AC project, waiting on, still tweaking color. So pretty stoked. I could show you, let's see, I have rubber of Guns and Gadgets. Everybody's seen that one already. I already sneaked that one out on Patreon. We got rubber of Gun Tube. I think that one looks pretty good. I think we drew that in here. So that one's on the Patreon. Go look at that. I gotta go put socks on this. All right, I had to go pick random black socks off of a clothesline in the middle of the night, so they're not right. But nobody's gonna know, so I'm gonna be sitting here with the wrong socks on, but I'm getting mosquito bit on my ankles. I ain't dealing with that. These little effers come in, ankle bite me, and then live, because I forget about it. It takes a little while for that signal to get up to your brain that you just got ankle bit. Make it away. But it's cool enough now. I got pants on, so they can't get me except for my ankles. And I thought I could get by without having socks on. Again. But the extra bonus is none, because now I got socks on. It's hotter with socks on. But it's getting to where it's only like 100 and something, 108 to whatever. So it's not so bad. And it goes down to 80 at night. So the worst of it's over. But when I go outside and it's like 80, I'm cold. So I'm already, whatever that's called, we got hot-blooded again. It'll get a little better by winter, but we're hot-blooded now. All right, so I think I was just talking about the patches. We got lots and lots and lots of rubber. I already was, as soon as I sent out stuff this morning, I was just sitting here thinking, like, when am I going to see some rubber? So I don't know. I have no idea what it's like at those factories, and I don't know if I'd ever be able to find out. But for example, we sent up 13 items that, some of them are pretty straightforward. Every second matters is probably the third or fourth time that this factory has done it. So they just had to pull the plates out, squirt a different color in there for us. That was easy. But, and then some of the other designs are pretty straightforward. But like on Charlie's, it says riding shotgun with Charlie's, it's an L. They don't know how to spell our words, right? Why would they? So shotgun is like SOL, SOL, like SHOL, instead of the T. So it just looks wrong. So that's a minor edit. They just have to carve a little chunk out for the T or whatever. But anyway, so some of them are pretty straightforward, and others ain't. Others are taking some time. So I don't know what's going. Yeah, so now I just have a bunch of screens in front of me. I guess I'll go look over and see what people are saying. So it looks like there are some people showing up tonight. We should just do the show an hour later all the time. All right, so Clint is out there. Patriot's out there. Moon of the Desert is awesome. Yep, agree. Buck is out there. Our gun level grandpa's out there, whatever. Patch is going to be highly collectible. I think so. There'll be 13. And yeah, I think everybody's going to have pretty cool designs. Yeah, Clover what's the word? It's not leaked. He previewed his on one of his places. So you'd have to go look at all of his places to see where he previewed it at. We should have a get together here one of these days. Kind of have to, or I'm attempting to ration the time I spend with everybody. You know, like Pete Clover and probably Tony Simon and Jared doesn't seem to care. Like a couple of people are down for just chatting because they chat all the time anyway. But others aren't familiar with chatting or getting in contact online for more than like a phone call or something. So if it's not something that's in your, I don't know, things that you do, right? It's different for people. Anyway, so getting everybody together again to talk about the project and what they're going to do is worth it. And then, I don't know, maybe even after everybody has them in hand, that's kind of too late. Anyway, I was going to say, trying to talk about too much stuff at once can be frustrating for these people that aren't super fluent with the communication process, but it's really part of the process, really. So I guess I shouldn't be too worried about it and just go ahead and schedule something. But yeah, we'll be scheduling something here to chat about the results and the what's next type of thing. I guess I was saying I'd rather wait till like maybe everything's in production. So, I mean, Tony's will always be behind because this is behind everybody's, but he's done it before, so he won't get behind. But anyway, having a conversation once everybody's beyond the back and forth, because everybody's at a different place. I think I posted it on Patreon earlier even. I have this little spreadsheet thing that I keep track of stuff on. And a portion of it is to keep track now of where in the process each of the projects are. Because, you know, basically it's 13 different projects that all get shipped at the same time. But it's 13 individual projects that have their own eyeballs and their own brains deciding if their design is the way they want it and whatnot. I would have gotten a couple. Well, I don't know. When you look at it in the picture of 400 people participated, and then there's going to be another extra 100 plus patches going out to everybody. That's like 500 something patches that are going to exist for each of these designs. So it seems like a lot until you start thinking about that's 500 of each, but they're coming out as a set. So that's really only 500 sets, period. So there's only 500 people, even though there's, what the hell is 5,000 times, or 500 times 12? 6,000 patches. That's not 6,000 people getting patches. That's 400 people getting 12 patches each. So that's a big difference. And, you know, as far as number of people that have these things in their hands. But I guess I'm going to say at this point, every group will get more than their one like design or like one patch, I think, or one set. Is that how I'm saying it? So like Clover, I mean, I don't know how many he bought. I don't keep track of that. But if, you know, aside from whatever he bought as a person, Clover, the guy participating in the project, was going to get a set anyway. Usually there's enough, well, there's 2 years. So there's been enough to give each of the participants their own set, even if they didn't buy a set. Does that make sense? So that they get their 100 patches plus a set so that they're not, you know, high and dry. They get a set also, which is no big deal. I just have to add another 12, right? 12 patches to the pile so that everybody can get one. I can't say for certain because right now it's a big mess, but the goal would be to get like 2 out to everyone. So, I mean, that's 24 patches, but I'm still trying to figure out. It's not quite through 400 people participated. It's like 3 something. So, you know, if that's 380, that turns out to be 380, then, you know, that might be one amount to everybody. But if it's only 360, then that would be a different amount going to everybody. If that makes sense. So we'll see once the numbers, they're all in, I guess. It's just once I have a chance to actually look at the numbers. Right now, we're still in the stage of making everybody happy with the design. So the way it works is, at least for me, is we start with art. Art, you know, once we're satisfied with that, turns into rubber, some samples, and for them, that's, you know, designing something that'll work in metal, and then it's actually making something out of metal, pouring the rubber in there, seeing if we're satisfied with it, if making any changes or what. Once they're in production, then they have an idea of how much rubber they're going to be pouring in there, and then they can weigh the final product and figure out how much it's going to cost, at 100 to ship it, at 500 to ship it. So we have some idea of that kind of thing. And once all that final stuff is done, once they know the real weight of these things, I guess, then we can start talking about quantity and cost and everything. So still at this point, it's just all kind of up in the, a lot of it is just up in the air, waiting for things to kind of get to the next stage, I guess. So that's what I guess I'm getting at, is this next stage will be once the details and once the changes are done and now it's just production. That's when we'll probably get together and chat as project participants, I guess, and start chatting about stuff, because right now it's just too up in the air. I'd be talking to somebody about art literally and somebody else about final production type of stuff, and that's just too big a spread, I think, to be a useful conversation. Even now, just talking about it seemed like talking about a bowl of spaghetti or something. So anyway, as far as being highly collectible, yeah, I think it will be to some extent, and then you're not out of the woods, I guess, or you're not out of luck, I guess I should say, because you'll have an opportunity to get some from the people who participated, and everybody's going to think of those, or is going to value those separately, right? Like some people dig that they're going to get an extra set, and other people won't care. It'll go in a drawer or get handed off to somebody. I don't know. So this is, I'm rich now, so I have instant coffee in here and chocolate almond milk, wait, chocolate cashew nut, wait, chocolate almond milk in here, and then water. So it's probably like 80% water, a splash of chocolate, nut juice, and then coffee. Oh yeah. Spaghetti. Yep. Although I'm a bigger fan of the flat stuff. What the fuck is the flat stuff called? I can't remember what it's called, but whatever the flat kind of spaghetti is, I like that. But I also like the really thin angel hair spaghetti, right? So I think they should make really thin flat spaghetti, and I don't know why they don't do that. But the flat stuff holds the sauces better, I think. You get more flavor in the thing. The round kind is for lazy grandmas make round spaghetti. Grandmas that care about you make flat spaghetti. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but my grandma never made spaghetti. Well, my one grandma made spaghetti. My other grandma never made spaghetti. Let's put it down. One of my grandmas was all about the spaghetti. Well, I mean, she makes spaghetti, but she was really making meatballs and sauce and stuff. But she was spaghetti with it. And then my other grandma, spaghetti might as well have been made out of poison. I don't think she ever made it. Did she ever make it? If she ever made spaghetti, it was with something that we weren't eating spaghetti sauce with. It was just, ironically, we also had spaghetti with it for some reason. Never asked her about that. Now I'm thinking about it. But again, there's probably a million things that grandma never made. She just didn't make the same kind of food as my other grandma. All right, well, so fettuccine, is that what it's called? We've been on since normal time. I always start at the normal time, or maybe an hour later tonight. I don't remember. For several participants, this is their first patch. That's pretty exciting, definitely. So Jared, first patch. Liberty Doll, first patch. Skips Tactical, first patch. Granny Shotgun and Charlie, first patch. KD, first patch. Is that everybody? I think that's everybody. Every Second Matters, not the first patch. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This might be the 7th, even. Maybe, yellow, orange, 8th, 9th version of the Every Second Matters. First time in blue. And there'll be something interesting. The Every Second Matters blue ones you get from the campaign are only going to be available from the campaign. Let's put it that way. You'll never be able to get that particular blue one again. But yeah, that's a lot of firsts. The 13th patch, first. Nobody knows what that is. It's a first. You've never seen it before. Yeah. And we'll see if that gets people jazzed on them or not. Because, it's just patches. People might know somebody that does something else. There's a lot of lasers out there. Who knows what they're going to start doing with lasers? You can cut nylon and it cauterizes the edges right away. So there's some potential there. A lot of 3D printers. I don't know if I haven't seen Erstwhile out here, but the kind of stuff like Erstwhile makes a lot of potential. He can make not only stuff, but tools, make all kinds of stuff. Just 3D printers, mills, cutters, and lasers. You got all that, but then you get printers. Angelina's talked about some of the equipment she's had that can print onto other things besides paper. Like those printers that can print onto T-shirts. Those are people that are wasting their time just printing onto T-shirts. Like I guess that's a thing. For boring. You got nothing else. You got no ambition. But you can print on all kinds of cool stuff with that sublimate. I forget what it's called, but it's basically like tiny spray paint nozzles. So you can spray paint that, or you can paint like that onto all different kinds of materials. So yeah, there's a lot of potential with once they get the opportunity to test a resource like that or do something like that. But yeah, even if they stick with patches, yeah, it'll be neat to see. I mean, patch panels are fairly common, but I don't know. I mean, there's some big audiences out there that may or may not have any interest in them, but yeah, getting like shotgun or riding shotgun with Charlie's and Guns and Gadgets and Liberty Dolls, those are all Massachusetts people. I might start a whole Massachusetts patch thing. Say no to Skynet. I don't know if that's what it's called. I want to say that, but it might not be. But sublimation, I think that's what it is because it's, I don't know. That might be the kind where it's only for certain materials. I'm not really sure. She'll know. See, when you talk about somebody, they hear it and then they come listen to your show. All right. So with that, I don't know how long I need to go tonight. It's been half an hour. I don't really want to drop links because I got to get going on work again. But I didn't want to go 2 nights without doing a show. So yesterday we didn't have a show. Let's see how this worked. Today is Wednesday. I'm trying to think back now. The light in my living room came on, so I jumped in. Oh, you have a light in your living room that goes on when somebody's talking about you on the internet? That's pretty handy. You could probably get those made by Amazon or Google. It's like one of them little hockey pucks. Hey, somebody's talking about you online. And then it shows you the different colors. Like if it's good talking about you, it's a green color. And if it's bad talking about you, it's a red color because red's a bad color. Processing, he had a dye sublimation printer for printing pictures. Let's see, I did. So what are we talking about here? Oh, you sent the email. I did. Thank you very much. Sorry, my night went crazy after we got done talking. Had to shoot a possum. I got into my house. Shoot a possum. Here's what you do. When a possum gets in your house, you run up and just yell at it. Just yell at it. And the whole point of playing possum is because they're just going to turn over and act like they're dead. And when they do that, you go up and rub it on the belly, and then it goes, oh, this guy's cool. And then it just hangs out. And now you got a better dog. Awesome. Let's see. So I had a sublimation printer for printing pictures. We're trying to figure out if that's what it is called when you can print onto other things besides paper. Is that all that is called sublimation? And then, of course, I was calling any printer who only prints on paper lazy, because if you've got a printer that can print on 3 dimensions, you should be printing on 3-dimensional things all the time. Everything's mean until you rub it on the belly. Once you rub it on the belly, it basically teaches it that you're useful and you're valuable to them, and then they love you. She has a sublimation printer also. Anyway, so yeah, I wasn't going to make this one a super long show, but I didn't want to go more than 2 nights. So I've just been working on the projects over here, and uh, the weather has gotten a little bit better. It's only like 106 every day instead of 116. So I've been trying to walk again, and I just got tired yesterday. So woke up yesterday, I think at midnight, and I figured that was probably too late to run a show. But tonight I woke up like an hour late. Actually, I woke up 9:30 and then somehow closed my eyes and opened my eyes a half an hour later. So I must have been pretty tired still. So anyway, since I figured tonight was only an hour off, I would still go do a show tonight. But I'm not trying to run a marathon. I want to get back to it. Like I said, I just turned the computers back on, and I'm feeling like I'm chomping at the bit. I could jump right back in and get to where I was at. So basically, I'm putting some of the event stuff together for the 50 states as I'm going through the 50 states of 2A. Started out with the obvious stuff like the yearly events and things like that that happen at places. So it was basically the almanac, except by location instead of time. And then I started to add things like the museums, which I'm interested in, and shooting ranges that turned into some shooting schools. We've got, I guess I said museums already. We've got advocates, of course. We've got some inventors in there. So various levels of the project that we've worked on, I just applied them to the state type of sorting as opposed to other type of arrangement. And that just led itself into the shooting ranges and large gun shops. And then now I've been doing the events, and the events have led themselves into the promoters of the events. And that's what I'm actually working on right now. But that turns into events themselves. So got a couple of things. Let's say there's the promoter like NSSF. And if you want to get real detailed, there's a middleman who NSSF hires each year. And I'd really like to keep track of that because, like me, I've been going to SHOT Show for a while. SHOT Show is quite different each year, and the parts that are different have almost everything to do with the people that they hire to run SHOT Show. And I've only took me years to figure that part out, and I've never bothered to track it. However, it would take nothing more than writing it down on a website, keeping track of it to sort it. And I wonder, I suspect, I guess, that the shitty years, the years that SHOT Show has sucked, may relate to a particular facilitator. I don't know what that position is called, because NSSF will go around acting like they run SHOT Show. I mean, if you ask them, they'll tell you they run SHOT Show. But what they really run is a whole bunch of contractors who create SHOT Show. NSSF comes up with the idea, and ultimately they pay for it, but they just hire a bunch of people. So the actual SHOT Show is 100% determined by who they hired. And that's where I'm not sure if it's worth tracking all that. Eventually I will, but at this first stage, I don't think it's worth all that. Anyway, drawing lines like that and digging in, that's what happens. You start digging into Knob Creek. Well, Knob Creek isn't a shooting event, but it's a shooting event that has a gun show. So now it's a gun show. And if it's got a gun show, then it's got a gun show promoter, which is the people that run the show. So yeah, it's turning into just another, I guess, more complicated sorting system, kind of coming back on itself. It all started with events, and now it's, I don't know if I've got everything and I'm coming back to events, but I've certainly gathered a lot of stuff, and now I'm coming back to events. So I'm working with the Gun Calendars website, right? And then, of course, Minuteman University's website. I put all the museums and stuff and all the places like gun shops and shooting ranges. I put all that stuff on Gun Shop Guide, which is another website. And now that I'm adding yearly events, things that happen each year, like the SHOT Show or like the NRA show, and like, since 2015, things like Red October that happens in the Vegas area. You got Kalashnikova or Kalash Bash happens in Texas. There's the Bullpup Shoot that happens in Illinois. There's these things that happen around the country that are, I don't know what to call them, like promoted shooting events that are not quite open to the public, but they're like a shooting, I don't know, like a sport or something. They're not all members only like the Iraqi veterans shoot, but they're kind of in between. So I'm listing those, and those go on the into the 50 states 2A, but they're also going on to the Gun Show Review site, but they kind of could easily go on to the calendar site. So that's where I'm at right now, as I kind of went into a circle where I'm coming back towards events, and it's just getting to be, I don't know, a decision process, I guess. Do I put them on one site or the other, or both? I guess there's nothing against putting them on both. It's not illegal or nothing. It's just that if you put information on two websites and you update one, you have to remember to update the other one, or it just gets inconsistent, right? So that's where I'm deciding if I should put the information on two sites or if I should put it on one and try to tie the two together, which is my usual, what I usually go with. It seems easier to have one site, or more consistent to have one site that you do your changes on and then have all the others point. But again, I'm just trying to create all that as we're building it here. So it's not super critical, but it just had little decisions that need to be made. Anyway, all that was happening, and it was too late last night or this morning probably. So got the good news on the rubber and sent out a bunch of emails, went to sleep, and woke up an hour late for the show. So that's where we're at. All right. So with that, I'm going to give everybody a chance to get together. And of course, tonight, we'll see. I should have probably put out a link and everybody could have been chatting. But with this much chatter, I'd have been here all night, I suspect, if I let everybody in. So we'll just use this as an opportunity to text chat at each other. And you can go get a room, I guess. Let's see. So up here somewhere. Thank you very much. I had to shoot a possum in my house. And then Sin is saying possum offensive. Possums are mean. They hiss and growl. I don't know about that. Like say, rub them on the belly. That possum, DGAF. Don't know what that is. I hate killing them and normally trap them and relocate them when they're in my yard, but my dogs had this one cornered in my kitchen. So another thing you can do with a possum is hold a stick or a broom handle above it, and by nature, by tendency, its tail will go up and curl around it, and then you can just pick it up like a hobo bindle and just take it wherever you want. And if you pull the stick out real fast, it'll just fall to the ground and it'll walk away. It might high five you, depending on if it's feeling groovy or not. What did you shoot it with? Probably a gun. Or here's the thing, if you use one of those salt guns on a possum, it's probably not going to hurt it at all. It probably won't even care. My feelings on that. Let's see. Plus, I couldn't tell what it was. I just knew it was growling back at my dogs. I was shooting blind because of where it was, no pun intended. So again, stick a stick out there. If a tail comes out, curls around it, you got a possum. If you stick a stick out there and a tentacle curls around it, you've got an octopus. Get a room. Another fine day. All right. Yeah, there's some contractor that brings the tables and sets up the area where your booth is. If you have a problem, they tell you talk to these other people. I think you're talking about SHOT Show. What you're talking about. So maybe these things are coming up out of order. Let me know if you have any issues and I'll see what I can do. BBQ. All right. Vance is here. Everybody's coming in tonight. I should definitely do this show an hour later. It's my problem is I do my show an hour early and all the Quarkers are in the middle of quarking me. Then, of course, Quarkers aren't going to tell people to go listen to the show they're quarking. They probably tell people like, okay, we're done quarking, so just turn off your computers and go to sleep because there's nothing else on. But if I went live like this, all the cool people are on in the middle of the night. Shot it with a 44 mag. I didn't know how big or what it was. That was crazy. I would never shoot 44 Magnum in my house. That would just make everything a mess. That worked, I'm sure. I would think so. Assault gun on a possum? Yeah, exactly. How many people have shot the assault gun at stuff that they're cooking or stuff that they're about to eat? Like, let's say somebody's about to eat some corn on the cob and they're like, I'm not going to put any salt on this. And they start putting it in their mouth. You could shoot it with that salt gun just as it's going in their mouth. and then they would have salt on it. Anyway. Yeah, I believe that's too big. I would shoot something in my house with a 22, maybe, and then you wouldn't have to worry about ricochets or making a lot of noise and stuff. But mainly the mess. A bunch of mess in there. But really sticking a stick in front of stuff or above things is the way to go. Most of the time they have a tail or a tentacle. They'll grab onto the stick. You just take them out of there. If it's a bat, best thing to do is have like a big pot of water, start boiling it. Eventually that bat is going to fly into that pot of water, take a bath or whatever, and then put a cover on there, make bat soup. It is delicious. You don't have to cook them all the way. A little bit pink in the middle is good for a bat. You don't want to cook a bat too well done. So just sort of warm water and a dead bat in there. It doesn't have to be dead, but a bat that can't get out of the water, that's delicious. It's delicious. It's like them puffer fish. You got to cook them just right, or you get the corona. But if you cook them right, you don't get the corona, and you get that delicious warm water bat flavor. I fired 2 shots just because I didn't know if I got them with the first shot. Holy crap, dude. If they start shooting back, then you bring out a 44 Magnum. Nothing could go wrong with that soup. My dad put 2 mags of 45 into a snake. That's messed up. I think if everybody's ever heard of G. Gordon Liddy before, I think he's one of the guys that was famous by stealing stuff for Nixon in the Watergate and getting Nixon impeached and everything. So after that, he's sort of like our parents' generation of what's his name? I can't think of his name. The guy from Panama and or I guess the Contra thing. I can't think of his name. Anyway, G. Gordon Liddy was like the scapegoat for Nixon. Later on, he became a writer, and he's a felon. So he talks about being a patriotic felon, I guess. And then he was a talk show host on a radio show. And anyway, and he's got a book called Will. And he's the kind of guy where he was afraid of rats. So I forget exactly what he did, but he did something gross with a rat. Like he grabbed a dead rat or a live rat and killed it when he was a kid. And I think he ate it. I think he cooked it over a campfire and ate it or something gross. So I forget what that theory is called, or that philosophy, but his deal is to confront your fears, just deal with it. And then you're not afraid of them anymore, right? So if you hate snakes, just go hang out with a snake. There's tons of people that own snakes as pets or whatever. And, you don't confuse a viper with a constrictor, right? A snake that's designed to crush things and just eat them dead. There's almost nothing to worry about unless that snake is bigger than you. Yeah, Oliver North, thank you. That's our parents' version of Oliver North, I think. So unless a snake is big enough to crush you, don't even worry about it. And a snake that's venomous, you just gotta not get bit by it. But snakes are nothing. They're just like the tube of animals. So if anything, they're a good animal. But really, they're just not. There's nothing to be afraid of. You can walk away from a snake. A snake is just a piece of tube laying on the ground. I mean, there's points, there's lines, and then there's all the other complicated shapes. A snake is literally like a line. Like there's bugs, you can't be afraid of a bug because they're just a point. And then the next simplest thing is a snake. I guess a millipede or a centipede's the same. Anyway, so I can't abide by being afraid of snakes. Just go change that fear. Just go delete it. Noise wasn't as bad as I thought, and not as much mess. Whatever. So then also you could go to that place where they filmed, what's that movie called? Oh man, I can't think of anything tonight. Indiana Jones and the Temple or wherever. So if you go into that place where they filmed it, where all those snakes are, you'll get rid of your fear of snakes. Drop down in there with a rope and then just walk out. And by the time you walk out, you'll like snakes. Yeah, Liddy had a radio show. I listened to his radio show. It was okay. He was kind of an asshole, but an asshole that was like pro 2A. I don't even know if he was pro 2A. He was pro gun for sure. And he was sort of a conservative. I'm trying to remember what all was going on. Something was going on, and he was the conservative, whatever type of attitude. So he was interesting to listen to. Pretty sure I had a job at the time where I sat in front of a radio, getting paid to listen to the radio. Yep, over north. And Gordon Liddy and pencil. What are you saying pencil for? Because a pencil is also a straight line? I guess so. All right, well, we went all over the place today, and yeah, I'm bored. If I don't have somebody in here, then I just got to say stuff, and obviously I had stuff to say today, but I'm done saying stuff. So that gives you an idea where we're at, and where we're going is get rid of that NFA, right? That pesky NFA that gets in the way. So think about all the old people that shouldn't have to deal with regular guns, and think of all the kids that got new ideas that should be made into new kinds of guns. And that NFA is the one thing that's standing in our way and making it so that a-holes can act like some guns are worse than others. Yeah, what's going on here? Gee, you know that little magnet patch panels you sell at, is that magnet material available in a big sheet? Oh yeah, definitely. It's, well, I don't know if it's the same material, but you can buy whatever that stuff is for like, like think of like a vehicle that has like a real estate somebody, or maybe some contractors, they'll have their name on their sign, like on their vehicle, but on a magnet instead of a sticker, so that they can take the thing off and use their car for other reasons, I guess. So yeah, you can get that stuff in, I don't know, Angelina could probably get it in like 24-inch wide rolls or something from her sources. I can get it from one of my places, the place that I bought my one cutter at, sells, I don't know, like maybe it could be 11 by 17. It's fairly big. It's like a big piece that you'd cut some vinyl and you'd stick the vinyl on it, and then you'd end up with a large enough placard or sign, I don't know what that's called, like badge, that you could put on the side of a vehicle, and it would be useful, like a phone number and a name or a design or something. So they're probably 11 by 17. They gave me, I forget, like a sample set of the different colors whenever I bought my cutter, and I've been using that for the big stickers that I turn into magnets and for other projects. So I don't have any full sheets left, but I've got pieces, remnants of the big pieces I had. So yeah, you can get that stuff in much bigger sheets. The thing is, if you try to buy it locally, I've only ever sourced a magnet at hardware stores and Walmart. Walmart's got like an aisle in a big Walmart, whatever they call the giant Walmarts. They'll have an aisle for crafts. Actually, sometimes an aisle for sewing and an aisle of crafts. So if you go to the craft aisle, there's magnet there. And they'll only sell like stupid sizes for like, I guess, kids making school projects or something. So that's the only places I found at local. Hardware stores will have the same, sometimes a half the amount of stuff that Walmart has. There is one hardware store here in town that has a lot of models and toys, like maybe toy rockets and railroad sets, like the kind of toy sets that, or type of toys that would involve a lot of pieces and stuff. So that hobby store / hardware store has an extra lot of interesting craft stuff. Not every town has like a super deluxe hobby shop like that, but I'll bet you that hobby shop has a bunch of different kind of magnets. Just something about it makes me think that hobby store, that hardware store would have some, but they're going to charge you a lot. I don't even bother going in there because I know they have stuff, but it's always 3 times the price of what I can pay online. At least it's expensive. So anyway, so yeah, you can buy the magnet in lots of different sizes. One day I'll probably ask, whenever I buy vinyl again, I haven't bought vinyl in forever, but I don't buy my vinyl online because it costs too much to ship. So I go to one of the places in town that provides the sign makers with their vinyl. And I probably pay similar to what Angelina buys her stuff at when she buys it wholesale, because I'm buying it from the same kind of place. And I'll go in there, they'll let me walk around their warehouse. I don't know if you go to places and you see there's a warehouse, always say, hey, can I go walk around in your warehouse? Because some people will be like, hell no, you're not walking around my warehouse. But a lot of people are like, I don't care, go walk around in my warehouse. And you get to see all kinds of interesting things. And then you find out stuff that's for sale that you never knew would have been there, right? So I'm going to go ask the next time, it's not like I go there often, but I'm going to ask the next time I'm there if they've got magnet. I think I just didn't need it because I had those sample pieces that I've been using. But now that I'm pretty much out of it, I was thinking I've got the vinyl cutter. I could do, if I had a piece of magnet big enough, I could do almost like a wrap on the van. You know, I could put, even if I had enough of those pieces of magnet to put together, I could do some sort of design and have it on the back side of the van, and then basically tear off into a tunnel or something, or into a garage, and then pull them all off and then tear out of there. And then it would look like a different van. Tomorrow is the day 7 that I've been waiting on Illinois background check approval. Okay. Yeah, done. The last few I did timed out at 10 days. 10 days? What's going on here? It's supposed to be 3 days. 3 days for a background check. There's no laws to prevent the Charleston loophole from occurring. The Charleston loophole is the law that says if a government bureaucracy is stalemated, then commerce still happens. It says if after 3 days the ATF hasn't replied, there's not sufficient evidence to assume you're a criminal, so you get to keep your piece of property you just purchased. And if the ATF buffooned or whatever the word is, that they take some longer than 3 days, then it's up to them to go catch you if you're a bad guy. So basically the whole, couple of, a couple of bad guys, a couple of the guilty go free so that no innocent gets detained or something like that. It's one of them. No one got the elephant inside a snake. The Little Prince. Oh, I missed it up here. I don't get these things in order. I'm reading them off of the El Pato from Canada, and they, I'm pretty sure they censor, and they decide in what order the chats are going to appear from actual real life on YouTube. So if you say something on YouTube and it's in some order because that's how the YouTube displays it, that is not necessarily the order or the time frame in which I get it over here on my side. So I'm just now barely seeing your text or your whatever, your message from 1046. So unless it's a snake swallowed an elephant, then you should be scared. So yeah, that's an elephant. Wait, if a snake swallows an elephant, no, if a snake swallows a cow or something, that's how you create an elephant. Or I guess if a snake swallows a hippopotamus. In 1639 changed it for Washington. Oh, I see what you're saying. Changed your background checks. Nice. Typical Canadians. El Pato converts the chat to metric. Well, I saw an interesting thing about that. So there's this really asshole weirdo who's a Canadian that does a chat or a show, I guess, a thing on YouTube, and he posted a video. Came up in my feed, and since then, I think I'm pretty sure I told YouTube never to show me his channel again. I did not like the guy, but he bitches and moans about the metric system and stuff, and pretty interesting. So he was I think he was trying to call people all a bunch of assholes for not using the metric system, but he basically reinforced the idea that the metric system is just indoctrination for dumbass communism or whatever. So basically there's nothing, right? There's no length. That's just what we decide. And if you look back at the amount of time that people have communicated with each other and decided and attempted to use a common unit of measurement, the agreed upon metrics have changed from 1/1,000,000th of the radius of the Earth, let's say for the length, right? From 1/1,000,000th the radius. Well, first it was somebody's arm or something dumb, and then it was like, some agreed upon stick or something that somebody carved. Then it was like 1/1,000,000th the radius of the Earth from the equator to the poles or something, because the Earth's not round, so they just had to arbitrarily pick a direction and a place to start from, and then measure, and then say 1/1,000,000th of that measurement. So it's just they just keep coming up with dipshit stuff. Now it's like the amount of time that a thing can travel in a vacuum. So it's like they just come up with a set of parameters that, you know, are becoming more and more universal, and then they just pick some increment randomly again. So to suggest that metric is somehow brilliant or perfect is bullshit. Metric is just picked out of a hat, just like everything else. It's just that it's a base 10. Big whoop. So we decide to use base 10 there. Guess what? Computers use base 2, and there's a billion computers. So shouldn't we use base 2 if we're trying to do what everybody else does? You know, you just do whatever you want. Now, a bunch of people decided to use metric. How often is that because they're too stupid to use any other system? They got to use 10 because they're so stupid enough to use something besides 10. But how much is it because, oh, we don't like the United States because of their freedom, so screw them, and we don't want to use anything they use, so we'll use this stupid French garbage. I think that's a half of it, was it? More than half, right? Everybody who's an asshole decided to use metric just because we ain't. So here's the thing, fuck them all. We use the shit out of metric. We can metric the crap out of anything we want. We just convert it, right? And big deal. We can just take it and use ours and stupid metric. The rest of the world just complains because they can't figure the rest of the normal shit out. They defaulted to dumbass metric, and then they're crying like a bunch of suckers because they can't get to the moon, and they can't feed themselves, and they can't desalinate water, and they can't figure out how to get energy out of carbon in the air. They barely know when it's day or night because they're stupid metric. So yeah, metric is a bunch of waste of time, and anybody who thinks it's perfect can't justify it. It's just some arbitrary, stupid number that they came up with. And it's for people that can't figure out how to use more than one numbering system. That's why we're so smart, because we can have more than one numbering system in our head at once. That's why people that know music and math are smarter than regular people. So fuck metric. Am I a commie for really liking? Yeah, of course you are. And it's also limiting your mind. So you're limiting your mind and your children by using base 10. Just grows 2 extra fingers. What you can do is go to some capitalist site and buy extra fingers, probably off a poor person, have them surgically installed, and then it's easier to count normal. If you got to go that far, or just learn how to count normal. And then here, learn how to count normal, and then dumb it back 2 numbers, and that's how you count metric. Simple. So you're basically almost all the way there. It's just that people in Europe, you know, they get tired. Oh, I learned 10 numbers, I'm done. Learn 2 more numbers, and you're up with the rest of us in the United States, and then you're good to go. The next unit is 10 times bigger than the last. What? I think that's supposed to be funny. Is that like some kind of teacher joke or something? Okay, barbecue, that was funny. Metric is way the heck easier once you know it. No, you know what's easier? Start with 0. So I had a big fight with a friend of mine about new math. So first off, there's a bunch of people that love metric. So what are they going to do? Teach you math real? Or are they going to teach you real math like a bunch of dumbasses who hate metric? They're going to teach you math because they're trying to get you to learn metric. So start counting with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And quit that whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 garbage, because that's the sucker bet. That makes you not understand it so good. So if you start with 0, boom, you're good to go. Look up new math on the internet, on the YouTubes, and I suspect once you figure out the concepts of the new math, you'll dig it. There's nothing really to, it's not like contrary, it's like adding to regular math. It's like if you knew the language, you know, you still know the language. It's just now you know some of the, what's the word? Like now you know some of the slang. So now you can actually communicate faster. It just lets you do math faster. But yeah, metric's no faster. It just acts like it's faster to the people that just have 10 fingers. And I don't know what you're saying, who doesn't understand fractions. Probably the metrics. The metrics have to have everything in like, 1 out of 10 or whatever. Not that you're dumb, it's just you're lazy. Lazy. You could be smarter. You probably got the ability to be smarter. You're just 2 numbers away from being super smart. Noah used qubit. A qubit is a proportion of a fidget. Fidgets are 16 qubits, I believe. I teach both. Well, that's too bad. 1 gram of water equals 1 milliliter equals 1 cubic centimeter. Yeah, that's, again, they just come up with that after the fact or something. to make it seem like they're witty, make it seem like they know what they're doing. It's like a mathematical magician. They slip that in there to make it seem like they knew what was going on. Where the foot come from, I forget. Yeah, it was somebody's foot though, I think. He is indoctrinating them. That, you know how many of them kids come out pro bacon? It's pathetic. Is 0 even a number? Yeah, exactly. Well, it depends. If you look at the history of math, there's the whole bunch of people who figured out 0 and they were smarter than everybody else. Everybody else was walking around like, no. And then once they figured out 0, they were like, oh, okay, it makes sense. But then everything happens like that. As soon as they figure out irrational numbers, same thing. So it's just evolution of math, I guess, or evolution of understanding of pulling back the veil or what. Numbers are the basis of it all, I think. So at least I believe that. So discovering math was like pulling the bones off. The bones are there no matter what. It doesn't matter what you're wearing as clothes. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how strong or fat or old or young. You still got bones under there. That's sort of how math is. It doesn't matter what else you want to pay attention to. If you dig down under there, still math holding it all together. I get in trouble for teaching standard logarithms. Nobody's supposed to. Only one person can teach logarithms, and that's Al Gore. So of course you're going to get in trouble for that. Yeah, he's playing both sides, exactly. He's like bacon and sausage, whatever, as long as you have a breakfast meat. Mayans were the first to use 0? Are you sure? Are you sure? Wasn't the Phoenicians or some fuckers in the Mediterranean? I don't know. It could have been the Aztecs. What happens when the temperature hits absolute 0? Nothing. Oh, you mean absolute 0 like Kelvin or something? Then I don't know if anything happens, but that's colder than most of our stuff gets, I believe. I'm not too much into temperature. Temperature is a whole nother thing. All right, well, so then I got a 15-minute metric rant. That would have been 15 minutes is 1,742 metrominutes. Metrics. Metrominutes. I don't know what a metric minute is, but that's how many it would have been. Everything stops. Yeah, I think that's what happens, right? On Kelvin, is stuff can't move around. This stuff still must be moving. If the electrons stopped moving around their neutrons, then wouldn't everything just fall into dust? I don't think you can get so cold that, you know, atoms fall apart into their elements or their particles, and it just turns into a bunch of particle dust. You wouldn't even see it, because since we're mostly nothing, it's just a little tiny bit of stuff that spins around that makes the room that seems like we're seeing stuff. So if you stopped everything, then yeah, it would. Wouldn't everything just have to fall down to 0? Just fall to dust. If it would even fall down, if there was no gravity, I don't know what would happen. All right, well, that's like 7 yawns. So I guess I'm ending it. We went about an hour, and that's a free show, basically free. And I felt like I needed to do this to confront the corkers, the blatant corking that happened, not just before my regular show, but then for hours, as if to say, we don't even care about that time slot. I had to come on just to save face and come coup on the corkers, because I might sleep during the temperate time of the day, but I still want my time slots. All right, well, so with that, I think we'll say thanks everybody for showing up. We got 10 people watching still, which is weird, but maybe I'll start doing the show even later. The whole point is to have a place for the patrons to chat. All kinds of news going on Patreon. I got, I don't even know, 5 rubber samples back today on the project, and you're not seeing them until they're happy, kind of thing. So as soon as somebody tells me it's good to go, then I show it to everybody. So yeah, lots of stuff happening over on the Patreon, and I guess I'll get back to work on this, and I guess that's about it. So we'll be back to pick you up later.